never guess. I tell my members that all the time. Never guess when taking a trade. Okay? I can honestly say that I never guess when I'm taking a trade. Now, a lot of traders will read that and say, of course you're guessing, we're all guessing, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's true, but I can explain. Have you ever thought about jumping in a stock and in your brain you're thinking, maybe this could work, and you just catch yourself clicking the button, right? Or you catch yourself thinking, what the hell, why not? I have, over the years, trained my brain to catch myself. It's like a self-monitoring thing, to catch myself when I have either one of those things going on. Let's look at them one more time. Maybe this could work. What the hell, why not? I have trained my brain, and let's just get that out of the way now, and we'll stare at the SPY chart for a minute. I have trained my brain to trigger a new mechanism when I catch myself feeling that way, getting ready to click the buy button or short button or whatever, right? Whenever I catch myself doing that, it triggers a whole new mechanism in my brain that just says, you know what, don't take the trade, all right, because you're guessing. All right, so how do you keep from guessing when placing a trade? And my short answer, and it's really pretty simple, is you should be able to explain to somebody standing over your shoulder. I don't care if you want to pretend they're a brand new trader and you're teaching them, hey, here's a good setup for a trade and here's why. Or if you want to pretend they're a 20-year veteran successful day trader and they're mentoring you and you have to explain to them like they're your professor, right? Why you're taking the trade. Either one. Always have that fictitious person standing over your shoulder when you're trading and be able to explain to them in detail why you're taking this trade. All right, and I have a couple examples here, but if you can't explain in detail why you're taking a trade, to me, then you're guessing. So that's what I mean. I never guess when taking a trade. It doesn't mean everything I trade works, but I can tell you that I can give you a detailed explanation why I'm taking the trade. So here, let's look at a couple examples. Okay, and I'm making this video on Sunday, May 15th. So this would have been the 13th, Friday the 13th, May 13th. On Friday afternoon, this IILG Interval Leisure Group spiked on news. Look at this, 479,000 shares, and I'm actually using 30-second candles. So this was in less than a minute, okay? So if you jumped in this right at 15 bucks here because you saw the volume spike and you thought to yourself, oh, this must be some amazing news. Interval Leisure Group maybe just cured cancer, which doesn't sound like they're in that space, but anyway, you get the point. So if you jump in here because of the volume and it's ripping, that doesn't count, okay? You can't say to somebody over your shoulder, well, it had volume and it's ripping. That is, any trader will tell you that is rolling the dice or really playing Russian roulette. You're guessing, right? You're guessing that this is going to go higher, but you really have no basis, especially through technical analysis to base it on. So you're just chasing, you're doing everything that you shouldn't do, right? And if you want to see the next 30-second candle, you bought it at 15, in 30 seconds, you're 50 cents underwater, and then 70 cents in another 30 seconds, and so on. You get the point. Let's look at another one. This is Kohl's, KSS. So it gaps down, and I'm showing you 5-minute candles here, and then it bounces, and then it just falls apart. Little failed bounce there. Then you get some volume on this candle, okay? So you think, okay, maybe 34-ish is the bottom. So it's climbing up here, and you grab it right here. To me, maybe some traders could say, well, this met these certain parameters. If you have a trade strategy based on this, then I would say at least you could have explained it to someone and say, oh, wait, it's breaking over like 20, 25 minutes worth of resistance and it's beaten up, so it's going to bounce, and you buy it up here. But look what happens. I mean, to me, this doesn't mean anything that I teach, all right? Look what happens. You buy it there, and it goes right back down to the lows. Then maybe you short it here because okay, it's going to take out the lows. Buyers have no power at all. Then it climbs back up and it just chops around most of the rest of the day. To me, this is not any kind of viable setup. If you took this here, this was heck. What the heck? Maybe this could work, right? That's where you're jumping in because it's starting to climb a little bit. To me, again, if you have a nicely defined set of rules and certain things that you look for. I think for most traders, this would not have been along there too. So that sort of falls into that what the heck, maybe this could work category. All right, an example of being able to explain a setup now. Okay, this is, and I'm actually going to use a call that I made in the chat room. And the reason I made it is because I could explain why I liked it. Okay, this was Yelp. I'm showing you 2 minute candles the other day. YELP. It gapped up pretty big. And there's a lot of people who do not believe in Yelp, right? The company or the app or whatever. But here's why this was interesting to me, and it's a fairly low float stock. I think it's got 60 million to float, something like that. But not a terribly huge float. So you had the gap up. The opening 2 minute range, okay, then it put in an inside candle, the next candle. We'll look at it this way. So it became interesting to me. All right, then the next candle takes out the lows of the day. A lot of times this will end up grinding lower all day and fill that gap, especially if it didn't have a great reason for the gap. This was on earnings, by the way. So I sort of put it in the back of my mind like, okay, I guess this thing isn't going to rip through the highs. But then the very next candle, it's showing strength again. So you've got consecutive lower highs on a 2 minute basis. You've also got a 2 minute candle that took out this candle and this candle's low and went to new lows for the session 6 minutes in. And one of the things I always look for on a gap play is I want sellers to come in and I want sellers to fail. Then I like to get long, okay? And you could argue this definitely happened right here. Sellers came in, it's coming down into the gap, right? It actually had really nice volume on this, and just very quickly, within a minute, all these people that shorted that low of day break into the gap, they're all underwater, right? And that's pretty good volume. So now I'm thinking this actually might push through the high of the day and squeeze. I identified a seller at 24.15. I told everybody if it breaks 24.15, that's my long idea. So 24.16, and the stop was just 23.99. But it met my parameters. I could easily explain this to anybody. Gap up, right? Sellers came in, and right up here, this will be a break of the previous break of a 2 minute candle's high. I like it even more because it broke down and broke a kind of a 2 minute sell setup here and failed, right? So I'm jumping on the team that, for lack of a better way of putting it, that the tide has just turned in their favor, okay? Sellers came in and these sellers failed. That shows me that this one might just rip. So I gave a great, that was a great explanation in my mind of, hey, this trade could work, all right? So the idea was long over 24.15. Stop so tight, 23.99. We get the high of day break and the thing just ripped. I mean, just ripped most of the day. So there's an example, but it wasn't just, hey, maybe this could work, right? Maybe if I take this at 24.16, it could work. But I had a clearly defined set of reasons that I could explain to anybody why I liked it. That's far different than chasing that IILG or chasing KSS after it had run up for 10 minutes thinking, well, maybe it's bottom. All right, so if you can do that, and if you don't have a clearly defined set of rules, start to learn, start to pick people's brains and learn what they look for a good trade setup. One thing I do is I'm very comfortable sitting in cash. I know a lot of newer traders always have to be in something. I'm extremely comfortable in cash, as I always say, unless and until I have a setup that I literally can't say no to, right? Then I'll take the trade. So in that way, you could argue that I'm never guessing.